Hello, my name is Emma, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about words that mean the same thing as tired. We have a lot of vocabulary in English to talk about being tired. And these are very important words to know because at work, people often talk about how tired they are. At the end of the day, we might tell our family, "Oh, I'm so sleepy," or when we first wake up. So there are many opportunities because of how we live to talk about how tired we are feeling. So before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you to my patrons at www.teacheremma.com. I've used your names in the examples to show you my appreciation for your support. Now let's get started. The first word I wanted to teach you is exhausted. In order to really know a word, you need to know how to pronounce it, the meaning of it, how to spell it, and how to use it in a sentence. So let's look at these four things with the word exhausted. Exhausted means very tired, okay? Usually at 3 p.m., I feel exhausted. This means I feel very tired because I've been working hard all day. So let's look at an example of exhausted. Nina is exhausted. So this is how we use this word. It's an adjective, which means it comes after the word, a be verb. So in this case, we're using is. We can say, I am exhausted, you are exhausted, she is exhausted, he is exhausted, they are exhausted. You get the point. How do we pronounce this word? How many syllables is it? Or how many parts is it? Well, if you look, I have 3 signs here. These mean syllables. So listen to me say this. Exhausted. Exhausted. So there are 3 parts to the pronunciation of this word. I'm exhausted. You'll also notice that there's a part I'm saying louder and longer. That's this middle part here. Exhausted. So we say this part with the stress. We say it with loudness and we say it a bit longer than the other 2 parts. So that's the first word I want you to use, exhausted. Again, it means very tired. The next word is more of a fun word to talk about how tired we are. The word is pooped. Pooped. I'm pooped. We often use this when we've gone shopping all day or we've been out with our friends, maybe to a restaurant. When we get back home and we sit down in our comfortable chair, we often say, I'm pooped. So again, this just means tired. Delcia is pooped. Again, this is an adjective just like exhausted and tired, so we use it in the same way. In this case, we have it after the verb is. Delcia is pooped. Okay, so we've talked about how to use it in a sentence. Now, how do we pronounce this word? How many parts does it have? Well, notice I just have this one little symbol. This means that it is one part, pooped. So it's not pooped, it's pooped. How do we pronounce the ed in this word? We pronounce it like a t sound. So I'm going to just cross this off. So it sounds like pooped. Okay, I'm so pooped. And pay attention to the spelling of these words because remember, in order to really know a word, we also need to know how to spell it. Okay. So what is our third word today that means tired? And I'm sorry, I know sometimes when we talk about these tired words, it makes us feel tired. So I hope while you're watching this, you're still alert and awake. Let's talk about the next one. Fried. Vicente is fried. Again, this word means tired. We use it a lot when we've had a very busy day. I'm fried. I'm so fried today. This means I'm tired. And again, it's usually used when our day has been very busy. So towards the end of the day. And again, just like pooped and exhausted, fried is used in the same way. It's an adjective. Vicente is fried. Now, how to pronounce this word? How many parts is it? Well, again, you'll notice my little symbol here. This means that it is one part. Fried. Okay? Fried. So I want you to try to say this word. Fried. And again, it means tired. Now let's look at another word. Sleepy. This is probably a word you might already know because it has the word sleep in it. When we add a Y, we make this into an adjective or a describing word. So, especially for students, we use this word sleepy. I know many students, when they're in class, they feel sleepy. This means that they want to go to bed. They want to sleep. So maybe when you first wake up in the morning and you hit that alarm clock, maybe you're still feeling very sleepy. Or maybe it's late at night, 2 a.m., and you're trying to watch a movie, but you're starting to fall asleep. You can use the word sleepy. Azad is sleepy. Notice how many parts this is when we pronounce it. Sleepy. So it is 2 parts. I am sleepy. He is sleepy. Now, what part is said louder and longer? Where is the stress in this word? The stress is actually on the first part. So listen to me say it. Sleepy. I'm very sleepy. So I say the first part very loud. This word also is one of those words with an E sound. So when I say this, my mouth goes really tight. Sleepy. Okay? So I know a lot of students have trouble with those E sounds. This is one of those words that have a very long E sound. So we say sleepy. Okay, what about this one? Wiped or wiped out. This has 2 different forms. We can just say wiped, or we can say wiped out together. What do you think this means? If you think it means tired, ding, 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 you are correct. Wiped out or wiped means very tired. Rick is wiped. Rick is wiped out. We can use either of those. They mean the same thing. How many parts does this have when we pronounce it? How many syllables? Wiped. Wiped. Okay, if you look here, I put 1, and when I say it, wiped. It has 1 part to it. I know there's an ED ending. The way we pronounce this ED ending is actually like a T sound. Wiped. Okay, so I'm gonna just, for pronunciation, it's pronounced like a T at the end. And again, it's 1 syllable. I'm wiped. Rick is wiped out. We often use this when we've been very busy, just like fried, pooped. Okay, so we don't usually use this in the morning at the beginning of the day. We often use it a bit later in the day after we've been busy and doing a lot of things. And again, it just means tired. Okay, so now we have a word that means tired, but it's a bit different than the other words we've been using. The word is burnt out. Burnt out. This word has become very common in the news, in conversations with friends. People are using this one a lot. Burnt out means when we are physically and mentally tired. So we often use it when we're talking about work or school, when we are working so hard or we are studying so hard and we don't have time to rest. We often use this to talk about when we're tired for a very long period of time and we're now becoming mentally exhausted and physically exhausted. So we are burnt out. So here's my example. Shelley is burnt out. So in terms of the grammar, it's actually used very similarly to everything else on the board. I'm burnt out, you're burnt out, he's burnt out, she's burnt out. In terms of pronunciation, burnt is one syllable and out is one syllable. One of these syllables I say louder and longer. I put the stress on it. I want you to listen to what part I say louder and longer. I'm burnt out. I'm burnt out. So the second part is the part that we say louder and longer. So now we're going to look at a couple other words that have to do with being tired. So please stay awake. I know talking about this makes us tired, but we still have a little bit to go. Okay, so I just taught you the word burnt out with a t sound at the end. This is a very British or Canadian pronunciation. If we wanted to use an American pronunciation, we'd actually say burned out with a d sound at the end. Burned out. It has the same meaning as burnt out. The difference is in the pronunciation and the spelling. Notice this ends in ed, and it sounds like a d sound. Burned out. So Shelley is burned out. Again, same meaning as burnt out. You'll hear different ones depending on which English countries you're visiting. The next word, tuckered out. We often use this when we're talking about children or babies or pets. When somebody is tuckered out, it means that they're very tired and almost ready to sleep. So for example, Hesiel, Piero, and Eduardo are tuckered out. So they're tired and they're almost ready for going to bed. They're all tuckered out. Maybe these guys went to the zoo and now they've come home and they're starting to fall asleep in the car, so they're tuckered out. Notice, so this is used in the same way as everything else we've been talking about in terms of the grammar. I've used are here instead of is because we're talking about three people in this example, Hesiel, Piero, and Eduardo. So for that reason, we're using are. But if we were just talking about Eduardo, we could say Eduardo is tuckered out. So it follows the same grammatical rules. So remember, I said it's important when you're learning a word to learn the pronunciation. How do we pronounce this? Well, let's first think about how many parts to the word there is. Tuckered out. So we have tuck-erd out. There's three parts. Tuckered out. Now, what part do I say the loudest? Listen carefully. Eduardo is tuckered out. Tuckered out. So notice the stress. I'm tuckered out. The stress is actually in the first part. Tuckered. And the ed here is pronounced like a d sound. So I'm just going to cross that off and just put a d. Tuckered out. Okay, let's look at another word that actually means something different than everything we've been talking about. So far, we've been talking about words that mean the same thing as tired. Now I wanted to talk about a word we use when we are tired, and that's this word, yawn. Yawn. I'm going to show you a yawn. Actually, just talking about it makes me yawn. So what I did just now was a yawn. They say that when one person yawns, it's contagious, meaning a lot of other people start yawning. So I'm going to do it one more time, and I want to know, do you yawn when I yawn? Okay, so that's a little bit of an experiment. You can write yes or no in the comments below. But notice how we say this word, yawn. And I used an article in front of it. I said, a yawn. I can also use it as a verb, yawned. I yawned. Simone is yawning. So we can use yawn as a noun or a verb. It's either an action or a noun. That was a very long yawn, for example. That's an example of a noun, or Simone yawned is an example of a verb. And notice it's just one part or one syllable. Yawn. Okay? So now just talking about yawning, I'm now starting to yawn a lot. And I am becoming a little tuckered out. So this is the last word. So let's learn it and just stay focused for this. The word is tired of. Tired of. So we've been talking about words that mean tired. Even though this word has the word tired in it, it actually has a slightly different meaning than words like exhausted, sleepy. When we use tired of, and we have this of word, it means we're annoyed by, or we're sick of, we're fed up with. These are all synonyms, but it pretty much means annoyed by something. Ian is tired of fake news. This means Ian does not like fake news, and he is tired of it. He is annoyed by it, and he doesn't want to see it anymore. So that's how we use tired of. It's more like annoyed than sleepy, for example. And again, a word that means the exact same thing as tired of is sick of something. And we use it in the same way. So thank you for watching. I hope this was interesting and didn't make you too tired while you were watching it. For more videos like this, you can subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to ring the bell to know when new videos come out. You can also do a quiz to practice all the words you learned here and to make sure you really understand their meaning as well as their pronunciation. So the website to do the quiz is www.engvid.com. You can also check out my website at www.teacheremma.com. There you can find free material as well as you can subscribe and get other additional resources. So thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.